Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Journey Latin America's virtual travel club. It's a pleasure to have you join us this evening. And if you've joined us for our previous virtual travel clubs, we've focused on more destinations such as Chile, Costa Rica, Ecuador and Galapagos, Colombia. But now, actually, we're doing things a little bit different today. We're going to be talking to you about our group tours. So when Journey Latin America first started in 1980, 41 years ago, we started off offering group tours. We were the first people to offer group tours to Latin America. We were the pioneers in finding all sorts of different routes around Latin America, and we still continue to do so. So I'm really delighted to welcome you this evening to this special talk on our group tours. And we're very happy to have Carrie join us from Journey Latin America. Carrie's one of our travel experts, but Carrie was leading tours for us for 8 years prior to joining us in the office. And she's also lived in Latin America for many, many years, and she'll be telling you more about her adventures there in South America. But I'm also really delighted to welcome back Jessica. So for those of you who joined us for our last virtual travel club to Mexico, Jessica de Geer from Mexico City is joining us live, and she tells us that the weather is absolutely stupendous there and baking hot. So we'll be hearing more from Jessica a bit later on. And I'd also love to welcome Jamie Swan from our product and operations group tours manager, who's going to be joining us on our Q&A panel, and he'll also be answering any questions that you might have throughout the course of the evening. So please do use the Q&A button to ask any questions, and it'll be great to get a good discussion going with you towards the end. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Carrie.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Laura, and good evening to everyone here this evening. I just wanted to begin by just a little bit about who I am and what I've done out in Latin America. I spent 12 years living in Latin America, working. I spent 3 years initially as a backpacker, just traveling around, trying to cover as much of the area as I could. I fell in love with it. I spent 1 year underwater, working as a scuba dive master. And then, as Laura mentioned, I was 8 years as a tour leader in Latin America with Journey Latin America. I've had the very good fortune to lead tours all the way from Mexico down through Central America, all throughout South America, all the way down to Argentina and Chile. So all the tours that you see in the brochure, I've pretty much led all of them. But I do have my favorites. People often ask, what's your favorite group tour? And I personally really like some of the off the beaten track itineraries. So for example, our Caatinga tour of Nicaragua is a fabulous one. Also, the Untouched Aysén is just spectacular scenery in an off the beaten track area of Chile. And then for a bit of luxury, I do enjoy our classic tour called the Sandpiper, which takes in Rio and Iguazu, Argentina, and finishes off in Chile down with the glaciers and everything. That's a really spectacular trip as well. All of these you can read about. A few places still to visit, which I keep my fingers crossed. I hope to make it there soon. And my top tip for visiting Latin America is smile. I know it sounds very strange. And I know in some countries like Colombia, for example, you will have people just coming up to you anyway saying, thank you so much for visiting my country. Other places, people are going to be a little bit more nervous, but I swear if you smile at them, you're going to get that back in absolute bucket loads. So Journey Latin America, we're a company that was founded 41 years ago. As our name would suggest, we are experts just in Latin America. So whoever you deal with, and here's photos of people, our travel experts in the office, whoever you deal with, we've all worked, lived, studied in Latin America. Many of our travel experts are from Latin America. We've got people from Colombia, from Chile, for example. So whoever deals with your inquiry will be a really knowledgeable person that can help plan your trip for you. And before I go on to talk about group tours specifically, I did want to show you a video of how our group tours used to be. This video is narrated by our company founders, our original company founders, Brian Williams and Chris Parrott, and it just shows you a little bit of grainy footage of what life used to be like in group tours.
In the very early days, we relied entirely on public transport. We knew an awful lot about the routes and how to get from A to B.
Oops, I think we may have just lost Carrie there. I know the internet has been playing up a little bit. If you just bear with us, will hopefully Carrie will be able to join us in a couple of minutes. So just do bear with us for one moment. So, Jessica, I wondered if you can tell us. We know obviously you're in Mexico. Could you tell us a little bit about what the situation is like?
Hi, yeah, well, as you said, it's fantastic weather. So that's all good. Of course, COVID related, if you wanted to know, it's actually been quite comfortable being in Mexico. They're doing the 1.5 meter distance, for instance, in restaurants and bars. There's little terraces where you can have a cup of coffee outside. And, you know, there is definitely that respect of the 1.5 meters. We've had in 2008, I think we had some other sort of pandemics happening. And so the Mexican people are really quite used to having to use hand gel and face masks. So it's absolutely no problem for them to adapt to the new normal. And so in that sense, it's been actually quite comfortable. Schools should be starting again soon as well. And the vaccination program is going sort of at the same pace as it is in Europe as well. So it all seems, as it's going well. Yeah, comfortable to live here.
That's really reassuring to hear. How long have you been living in Mexico City for?
Living in Mexico City 5 years. Before that, I lived in Copan in Honduras. And also in Peru, I lived for 5 years. So just like many of the tour leaders, actually, I think all the tour leaders with JLA actually live or were even born in the countries that we lead tours. And well, I am from the Netherlands, but yeah, 24 years ago, I think I moved to this side of the world and fell in love and stayed. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, what a wonderful place to settle. And I know that the Alcyon, our sort of Central America tour, and Mexico are the tours that you mainly lead. Do you not get tired of leading the same tours over and over again, or do you wish, can I just go to Chile for I don't know, a tour or two? Oh, Carrie's back.
I'm really sorry.
Welcome back, Carrie. Don't worry.
I'm sorry. A nice little technical problem. This is the, we've all dealt with it over the last year or so, I think, haven't we?
Okay, nice to have you back. We'll let you carry on. You were just showing us the video of Chris Parrott talking about what it was like in the early days.
Okay, great. Okay. So basically, I just wanted to introduce some of our tour leaders. Here are a few of the tour leaders here. We've got about 12 tour leaders on the ground in total. They're a mixture of British European. We've also got lots of local tour leaders, people from Guatemala, Chile, Peru. The one thing they all have in common is that they all share a huge passion for the culture, the history of Latin America. Many of them, like Jess, who's joining us here tonight, are big foodies. They're going to help you try and find the local specialties in each place. And all of them are enthusiastic and happy to go the extra mile. So by that, I mean, if you're a big bird watcher, or you like to go horse riding, or an enthusiastic photographer or something, if you were to let your tour leader know, for sure he or she would do everything they can to incorporate that into a holiday for you.
Carrie, sorry to interrupt. Can you share your screen?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Bear with me, sorry. Share screen. How's that? Are we back?
Looks good.
Are we back? Sorry, sorry, Laura. Sorry to everyone that's listening and watching this, but hopefully that's it now. Is it okay to carry on, Laura? Can you see this?
Perfect. Go ahead,
Right.
Carrie.
Okay. So guys, one of the reasons why we wanted to have this talk about the group tours tonight is that we've got a brand new brochure launching, which we're very, very excited about. So the brochure has lots of new photos, a new design, effectively. You'll meet, of course, all the tour leaders in the brochure, and we also have a section in there about our local guides. We've got lots of ideas about how you can customize your trip, extensions that you can add to the beginning or end of your trip to really make it extra special. We've got over 30 group tours now to choose from, including 2 brand new tours, which I'm going to come on to in just a sec. lots of insider information. So client testimonials from people like yourselves, you might even spot some of your own in there, tour leader recommendations, as well as staff travel tips. The other good thing we believe about this brochure is we've got departure dates up to March 2023. And I think with everyone having to shift holidays and everything that's happened over the last year or so, this will really help you plan ahead. So that brochure is available from the end of the month. And if you haven't already pre-ordered a copy, then you can do so from our website. There's two tours that we have, two new tours, should I say. The Toucanet. This is one I actually took a booking for this tour today. So I was really excited that someone's seen it and they like it and, you know, they've already booked onto it. This is a short version of the Sandpiper tour that I talked about before. It covers Rio, Iguazu and Buenos Aires. And then the other tour we've got is the Magalanik. We're really excited about this tour. It was actually designed by one of our travel experts, by Hannah Donaldson in the office. She came up with this itinerary and we think it's fabulous. It takes in Buenos Aires, it goes down to the Lake District, and then further south into Patagonia, where you see the magnificent Perito Moreno Glacier. And it's also the only group tour we have that takes in the Valdez Peninsula, which is fabulous. That's the area for seeing penguins and whales. And also that's the area where you can see a little bit of Welsh Patagonia as well. So we do often get requests about Welsh Patagonia, and this tour does include some of that. So about the group tours in general, sorry, just have a little drink. Of course, you'll be accompanied from start to finish by one of our tour leaders. The excursions are led by local guides. So the tour leaders and the local guides work very much as part of a team. So the tour leaders, I guess, playing more of a practical and social role. They're getting you from A to B, they're problem solving. They're taking you out for meals in the evening, looking after the sort of social side of things as well. Whereas the local guides are the real experts on the different places that you visit. So be it a city tour or a tour of an archaeological site or a nature walk, something like that, it's a real team effort. Of course, you'll enjoy the company of other like-minded travelers. So you'll see here some of these photos that I've taken myself, actually. They're, you know, stopping for a picnic on the edge of a lake, or, you know, that's me at the back of the kayak, obviously doing nothing whilst my travel companion there is kayaking away. It's nice to spend company with other spend time with other like-minded travelers. The other good thing as well is if you're a solo traveler, then there's no supplement if you're willing to share with someone of the same sex. That makes it just more affordable for people. Of course, we take care of all the practical arrangements. So the idea is you sit back, relax, enjoy, and let us take care of it for you. So what's life like on the roads? Of course, you meet the tour leader and the group on day one. You travel together as a group and you stay in the same accommodation. And you also enjoy the same included excursions. I just wanted to show you what the included excursions might look like. So essentially, they're the things that are accessible and appealing to everyone, the sorts of things we know you want to do, because, you know, that's the reason why you've gone to these destinations. So, for example, it would be a city tour, and you've got a photo, for example, of Santiago there. You've got the archaeological sites, something cultural like visiting the Uros Islands in Peru on Lake Titicaca, or doing a walk to see the condors there in Colca Canyon, or of course seeing viewpoints like the magnificent Torres del Paine, which is there in the top left-hand side. Optional excursions are things like more adventurous activities or more specialist activities that aren't for everyone. So sometimes people do say to us, well, why don't you have everything included? We want it all included, but the thing is, not everyone wants to go zip lining through the cloud forest or horse riding or get up really early to do a bird watching tour. But we know that some of you do, which is why we offer those as optionals. And Jess can even organize the hot air balloon riding for you in Mexico. So it's all possible. And then in the evenings, there's no set meals. We don't have evening meals included, but what we tend to do, what the tour leaders like to do, is book a table, and you guys can come along if you want to. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine as well. But the idea is there's always something on offer for you. Occasionally the meals, you know, you might end up in a bar and join the local band like these two did, bottom right, sorry, in Cusco. And of course, there's some examples of some of the different typical foods you can try. And the tour leaders are very good at making sure that you try all of the typical foods in the different countries, because of course, food is a big part of traveling. So we've got different types of tours. We've got discovery tours, which are taking in more sort of off the beaten track type itineraries, as well as country highlights. Because of the off the beaten track nature of some of those tours, we don't stay in sort of high end hotels because they don't have the infrastructure for those hotels. So it tends to be more kind of cozy hotels or family run guest houses. We use a mixture of private vehicles and also some public buses, but we call them luxury public coaches because actually that's what they are. The long distance buses are like that. You might only have one or two on a discovery tour. Of course, if you wanted to travel on a chicken bus or take a tuk-tuk or something like that, then you absolutely could. You just let your tour leader know. Because of the nature of these tours, you get a real feel for the local way of life as well. So again, these are some photos that I've taken on some of my tours. One of my group members trying some food there in Cartagena in Colombia. The girl there in the bottom left, she was in El Salvador. She came in her lovely traditional clothes when we were sitting having a coffee and wanted to sell us some nuts. And then she got out the very old fashioned kind of weighing scales to sell us her nuts. And then we've got the ladies in Bolivia, top left. These ladies are actually wrestlers. They have wrestling, female wrestling in Bolivia, and they're dressed like this, Cholita wrestling, they call it. These ladies were very happy to pose for a photo for us. And then, in fact, my group afterwards said they wanted to go and see the wrestling, which we did do. So yeah, anything is possible. So just to give you an example of what the hotels might look like on a discovery tour, we've got, for example, even though the hotels might be more simple, more cozy, they're often in beautiful locations like the one on the deck there overlooking the Caribbean in Panama, or the one on the beach there in Nicaragua. And then we might have other ones that are sort of rustic finca style, like the one top left that we use in Colombia. And then I have an example of a room of a hotel. So you can see they're not sort of all singing or dancing, but it's very clean, very comfortable, lots of light and ensuite bathroom, and essentially everything you'll need. The other thing as well, and I would say this is relevant whether you're doing a discovery tour or one of our sort of more upmarket classic tours, is this ability to immerse yourself in local life. So some of our tours actually coincide with big festivals and events. So for example, we do have tours that coincide with Day of the Dead in Mexico, or with the Inti Raymi festival in Cusco, which is an Inca festival, very, very well known, or of course the Rio Carnival. But even if you don't do those tours, whatever tour you do, your tour leader is going to do their very best to immerse you in local life. So for example, the lady up there holding the alpaca, the llama, she lives in Peru. We always used to stop and have a photo with her. She was very, very welcoming, always, grabbing one of her pets. I remember her, she actually knew, I don't know how many llama alpacas she had, but she actually knew the names of every single one. It was always very impressive. Or a local market, for example, like in the top left there. I think in the middle at the bottom there, that was a Bolivian anniversary as well. That's how Bolivians party. They're just kind of walking in with their crates of beer. Whatever it is, there's always opportunities to experience a bit of local life, which of course is why you're traveling. And of course, you can try something new. So, whether it's hiking in the mountains there in Argentina, the bottom left, that was a group. We hiked up an active volcano in Chile, and then you slide down it afterwards on the snow and ice. It's completely new for everyone, I guarantee you that. Or you might walk on some hanging bridges in the cloud forest in Costa Rica with the waterfall, nice hike to a waterfall. I've already mentioned Day of the Dead there, so that's a example of the Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico. And bottom right, I promise you that's not the actual transport we use on a tour, but that's a bus that we use for one of the excursions in Colombia, which is really good fun. You can see everyone sort of happy to jump in that one. And then at the bottom, if you're extremely lucky, you might see a jaguar on one of our Brazil tours that incorporates the Pantanal. Our classic tours are, you're seeing the highlights of different countries. The main difference between the classics and the discovery tours is that you're doing it in a bit more comfort and style. We're using private journeys throughout, private vehicles throughout rather than any public buses. And where possible, we'll also incorporate some luxury train journeys. Of course, you'll still have your tour leader throughout as well. So here's an example of some of the classic hotels. So you can see it's, upper mid-range, in some cases, first-class properties, really superb facilities. You can see that one overlooking Copacabana Beach. And of course, exquisite scenery. There's the one in bottom at the middle there in Torres del Paine National Park in Chile, which is just next to the mountains and beautiful location. But other than that, you're essentially seeing the same things, doing the same things. So this, for those of you that maybe recognize it, is Cartagena. So in Colombia, so whether you're on a discovery or classic tour, you'll still do your city tour of places like Cartagena. In this area, which again, bonus point, if you recognize it, is Atacama Desert. You'll still do all the same activities in and around Atacama Desert, but you'll just do it in a bit more style. So, for example, this is the picture of the luxury train that I mentioned that's going to take you from Cusco up to, Lake Titicaca to Cusco in Peru. I probably can't survive a presentation, unfortunately, a presentation like this without mentioning COVID and the changes that we've had to make. Of course, everyone's having to be a little bit flexible with these things. The main change is that we have smaller group sizes. So we're going to operate with a maximum of just 12 until the situation has improved. We have an enhanced flexible booking policy. So you can read about that on our website as well, but we have very flexible booking terms now. Even our tours themselves are flexible. So you can leave a tour a bit early or join a bit late. Or if you wanted to avoid a certain city, for example, where possible, we'll find an alternative for you. So just to give you an example of that, maybe in Chile, for example, if you didn't want to stay in Santiago for whatever reason, you didn't want to be in the big city, we could put you in a winery just outside the city rather than staying in the city itself. So there's lots of options like that. Of course, we'll be following the travel advice of each country. So testing, social distancing, masks, that's all very fluid. So we can't say now in stone what that will be, but we're following all of that advice. And of course, all of our tour leaders are fully trained and prepared as well. We're also now giving you the option to travel in a bubble tour. So that would be a case of getting together a group of family or friends, a minimum of 6. We'll give you a tour leader, and to all intents and purposes, it would be your own private tour. You could choose from any of our group tours, so any of the 30+ tours. You'd have the flexibility to choose your own dates as well, which just makes it, you can really tailor it for you. And if there's 8 of you or more, then there's no supplement at all for that private tour. Otherwise, for groups of 6 or 7, you would just pay a supplement of $250 per person to have your own private bubble tour. So that's something that's already proving popular. And coming up, myself and Jess, we're gonna talk about some of our favorite tours or some of the most popular tours that we have. But before we do, I just wanted to show you a quick video of some of our favorite places in Latin America.
Our experts have tailored unique journeys to every corner of Latin America for over 30 years. Start yours at journeylatinamerica.co.uk.
So yeah, that was just a nice reminder of everything that we have in Latin America, of course, desert, mountains, jungle, glaciers, it's all there. So one of the tours I wanted to talk you through was one of our most popular discovery tours. It's called the Nandu or the Nyandu, and it takes in 2 countries over a almost 3-week period. So you start in Santiago in Chile, you go down to the Lake District area, to the far south, and then you finish up in Buenos Aires. So you have 2 big cosmopolitan cities and plenty of nature in between. So the first section of the tour, in the first sort of 5-6 days, you start in Santiago. So that's the photo there in the top right with the cable cars and the mountains behind. You also have an option to go out to the Pacific coast, out to Valparaiso, to see all the street art and to see all the little lifts in the hillsides there, which are very beautiful if any of you have been there before. We also can incorporate a winery visit that day, which is always very popular. And then we fly south to the Lake District, where you have not only the beautiful, beautiful blue lakes, but also volcanoes everywhere. And then we have also an included day trip to Chile Island, which is the photo you can see in the bottom left. And that is a stunning kind of mystical step back in time place. And as well as seeing all these nice colorful houses, you can see penguins and things like that in season as well. And then we fly to the far south, all the way down to Punta Arenas, which is the gateway to Torres del Paine National Park. You'll stay in Puerto Natales, which is the town on the water there in the bottom right, and that will be your base for 3 magnificent days in Torres del Paine National Park. And to be honest, it's hard for me to describe in words how that is. So the best way to kind of explain to you is just to show you these photos. A lot of people do wonder what is a Nandu or a Nyandu. All of our tours are named after birds or animals. And the Nyandu is actually that ostrich type creature you can see at the top there. You'll see plenty of them on this tour, and they're quite well disguised in the nature behind, but you'll see plenty of them, as well as the guys below, which are the Guanacos, which is the same family as the alpaca and the llama, but these are wild in Torres del Paine National Park, and you know, big herds of them. And they are prey for the puma, which unbelievably, we're seeing more and more puma sightings in Torres del Paine National Park at the moment. So if you're lucky, you might get to see one. And other than that, you've just got the beautiful natural scenery. So you've got the Glacier Grey at the bottom there, as well as the, you know, the beautiful Torres themselves and Los Cuernos, all these beautiful viewpoints. And then you go across the Patagonian steppe into Argentina. You might see some gauchos along the way herding their sheep. There's plenty of them in that area. It's not uncommon to see them. And then you get to the Perito Moreno Glacier, which is something just extra special, to stand on boardwalks very close and just see, you know, big chunks of ice coming off it. You can hear it. It's such a cascade of noise. And then below that, you've got the Fitzroy Ranges National Park, and you can spend a couple of days just trekking in that national park, and it's just stunning. And then you finish off by going firstly to El Fin Del Mundo, the end of the world. Literally, it does feel like that. So Ushuaia, right at the bottom there of Argentina. You can see the photo there, top right, which has the mountains behind it. You go on a boat trip on the Beagle Channel, which is where you can see lots of wildlife, birds and sea lions and things like that as well. It's very spectacular. And then you finish off in Buenos Aires, which is a city close to my heart. The first place I ever went to in Latin America back in 2005. And I lived there actually as well. And of course, there you can finish off with a tango show. You have your city tour, some wonderful food and wine, of course. And you could even go across to Uruguay and go across the Rio Plata or the River Plate and spend a day trip in Uruguay as well. And the other trip I wanted to talk to you about was the Hummingbird. So this is an example of one of our classic tours. It's our ocean to ocean itinerary. And I really recommend this for people who've never, ever been to Latin America before. And they really want to take in some highlights in one trip. So this one's fabulous. It starts on the Atlantic coast in Rio and finishes on the Pacific coast in Lima. And in between, you go into Argentina and Bolivia as well. So the first few days, of course, you do your classic Rio activities. No one can go to Rio without taking the cable car to Sugarloaf Mountain, or of course, visiting the Christ the Redeemer statue, having your sunset caipirinha, or spending time on some of the fantastic beaches in the city. From there, you go down to Iguazu waterfalls, which are huge waterfalls, straddling the border of Brazil and Argentina. Really, really breathtaking place. You spend a couple of days there visiting from both sides before going back to Buenos Aires, which I've mentioned already, a place close to my heart. But of course, you have your city tour and you have your time in Buenos Aires as well. And then you go to Bolivia. Now, Bolivia is somewhere that I absolutely fell in love with the first time I went to Latin America. I completely fell in love with it because it's just beautiful scenery everywhere. Maybe it doesn't get as much attention as its well-known or better-known neighbor, Peru, but it's a fantastic place, and we have a nice amount of time there on this itinerary. So you go to Sucre, first, which is that nice whitewashed city in the top left, colonial city, very, very beautiful, before moving on to La Paz, which is just a huge city in that bowl there. You can see it sitting at the bottom of that bowl surrounded by mountains. And then from La Paz, you also visit Tiwanaku, which is a fascinating archaeological site. And it's really nice to go to Tiwanaku before moving on to Peru, because you'll see how the Incas were actually very much influenced by a lot of the Tiwanaku culture. So it's very nice to do it in that order. And then, of course, in Bolivia as well, you're going to start seeing a lot of the indigenous culture. So you will see the ladies that are in the photo there with the plaits, all these wonderful colors. You'll really get a taste of indigenous life in Bolivia. And then you move on to Peru. I've showed you the train journey earlier, so you do take that luxury train from Cusco up to, from Lake Titicaca up to Cusco. It's a full day journey, but it's fabulous. People love it. And then, of course, you spend 3 days in Cusco, which is their top left, which is real capital of the Inca Empire. Of course, you visit Machu Picchu, which is a highlight of the trip for many, many people. And then you end up completing your ocean-to-ocean adventure on the Pacific coast in Lima, where you can enjoy some fantastic food. Lima now is really considered to be the gourmet capital of Latin America. So without any further ado, and to prevent any more technical issues and to give you a little bit of a break, I wanted to introduce Jess, who lives in Mexico City and also lived many, many years in Central America. She is our expert in Central America and Mexico tours. So she's going to just talk you through these ones. So over to you, Jess.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've been doing the Alcyon tour for quite a few years. That's the first tour I'd like to talk about. That tour starts in Panama City, and it goes up to Guatemala. Many people say, why do you go northbound? It really makes sense because we start very modern and we go back in time and more to the traditional countries such as El Salvador, Guatemala, where it's really more traditional, and you'll feel very comfortable by the time you are there to walk around, visit markets, etc. So we start in Panama. We have 3 destinations in Panama, but of course you cannot go to Panama and not visit the canal. So here you see a few pictures. On the top right, you see the canal. We do visit that. On the left, you see the Casco Viejo. It's another part of the history of Panama City that's very interesting. We'll learn all about the pirate history as well, which makes it fascinating. In Panama, we also visit the Highlands. This is the coffee area where the coffee is grown, that you've got an opportunity to visit coffee plantations if you like, and do fantastic hikes there as well. And of course, a chance to visit the Bocas del Toro. It's the Caribbean part. We spent some time there. You could do snorkeling if you like. Visit one of those picture postcard islands. That's Zapatilla. We quite often visit that on a boat trip with very good chance to see, for instance, sloths and many other types of wildlife. After Panama, we moved to Costa Rica. And that should be the next slide. I hope I can get it. Well, in Costa Rica, there you are. So that was that can happen during the tour sometimes, a little delay, but you know, we've got to be flexible. In Costa Rica, of course, it's famous for wildlife and nature reserves. Well, we visit 2 different types of nature reserves. One is the rainforest and one is the cloud forest. And because you're at different altitudes, there's a really good opportunity to see many different types of wildlife. Well, on the top right, you see the resplendent quetzal. As you see, it's got these green feathers. It was really important during the time of the Maya because of its feathers, and they made these huge headdresses out of it. They are mostly to be spotted in Costa Rica, and we always do our best. We've got fantastic guides. As Carrie was saying, we've got specialists guides. I always say it looks like they've got X-ray eyes. They can see things that we would never be able to see. So they will always be able to find many types of birds, rodents. We see monkeys, sloths, crocodiles, depending on which altitude you are. We always see hummingbirds. This beautiful picture there on the top, on the right. Outside of our hotels, which are always located right in the nature, there's always feeders. You can see, if you get up early in the morning, if you want, you could do your own bird watching. You don't necessarily need to be a bird watcher to want to do this tour. There is lots of possibilities to do other kinds of activities. For instance, spectacular rafting tours, or you could do zip lining, or you could look over the cloud forest from those hanging bridges. And those are really popular activities to do in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica really delivers on wildlife and nature. Our following country is Nicaragua. And you may have seen a little bit from the map before, is that this tour is actually lined out almost, it follows the Pacific Rim of Fire, meaning every 30 kilometers, basically, you literally see a volcano sticking out. And one of the places that we stay is spectacular. It's Ometepe, it's on the top left. It's literally 2 volcanoes sticking right out of that massive lake of Nicaragua. And we spend a few nights there. And that gives you great opportunities. It's like we stay right on the beach there. You could do horse riding on the beach. You could just do your own little nature walks. You've got a cultural tour there. And if you like, you could even climb a volcano if you're up to it. It's not easy. If you do want to get a good taste of a volcano, actually sulfuric taste you end up getting, but it's great, is you see the bottom right, that's the rim of the volcano of Masaya. We drive up that volcano, so everybody can do that, and you'll be staring right into this massive crater with boiling lava. It's like a soup, and that is right outside the city of Granada. You see a picture there in the top right. And that's actually that picture you will be able to take as well, because we climb up a church and then you can see that beautiful cathedral with the lake in the back. It's a fantastic backdrop as well. On the bottom left, you see a picture of Lyon, and in Lyon, and maybe we can go to the next slide. Lyon is a place where the revolution of these, Central America, the banana republics, about the stories about the revolution. We're going to learn a lot about that in Lyon, in Nicaragua, but also in the next place, which is El Salvador. And we can actually talk to guerrilla leaders if you like. There's tours specifically about that. But it's not the only reason we go to El Salvador. We actually visit the place Sushi Toto. We spend a couple of nights in a beautiful hacienda, and it's a really good chance to, learn more about the humble life in villages in Central America, traditional Central American countries. It's all cobblestone villages, and we learn about their farming. We learn about how they cook. You will notice that they'll use a lot of corn in their cooking. And for instance, one of the traditional foods that we try there is the pupusas. Sometimes we even ask our group, we ask if we can actually make our own to the street vendors. And then we all try to make our own pupusas, not always so successfully, but it's great to try the local street food. We then move on to Honduras. This is where I lived for 8 years. I mentioned it before when we had our little time out before. Honduras, Copan Ruinas is exactly where I lived. And what you see in the bottom left is the ruins of Copan. They call it the Paris of the Maya world. It's really ornate. On the right, you can see the pictures of these faces carved out, really well preserved. And what is to really protect? They started to protect the local bird, which is the national bird of Honduras, the scarlet macaw. And when you visit the ruins, you will see these birds flying all over. Really good chances to take very amazing pictures, I have to say. And it becomes even more colorful when we go to Guatemala, which is our last country of the 6 countries that we visit on this 3-week trip. We visit Antigua Guatemala to see beautiful, colorful buildings. The city of Antigua is surrounded by 3 volcanoes, Agua, Fuego, and Acatenango. And it's such a colorful place, specifically with the ladies wearing the traditional clothes. It's all different kinds of weavings. It's beautiful also for artisan shopping, if you like. We visit the local market there. It's always good fun. It's right outside the bus station where you've got those really colorful chicken buses flying in, and it's fantastic photo opportunities. And what's so great about that place, Antigua, at the moment, and I was mentioning the volcanoes before, is that one of the volcanoes, Fuego, is really active at the moment. And it's all safe, obviously, but it's always great to have a last night, a couple of drinks from the hotel. We actually have a view right onto the Fuego volcano. And our last breakfast is, just basically from our breakfast table, we see the smoking volcanoes. It's a spectacular way to finish that tour. Carrie's put a few other photos on the left. You see bottom left, you see Tikal. It's a very easy extension that you can add onto this tour. That's in the north of Guatemala, Maya ruins, and then in the bottom right you see Panajachel, and that is on the lake of Atitlan, and again more volcanoes for you to see. You can do hiking there, etc. It's really great. So you can talk to the operation team to see which extension you would like to do. And then the following country that we visit, and it's just one country. It's a sip of water. That's Mexico. So you could do a discovery tour just of the one country. This is a 2-week tour. It is going southbound. It starts in Mexico City and it finishes in Cancun on the Yucatan Peninsula. We start in Mexico City. We could go to the following slide where you can see some of the images of the places that we visit. On the right, you see the pyramids or the temples of Teotihuacan, which you can visit. We do visit, but you could also do that in an air balloon, as Carrie was mentioning. If you want, Mexico City basically has, after London, the most museums in the world. So it's really a place to maybe book an extra few days if you want. Carrie was talking about the flexible tours. You could come a little bit early. There's so much to see, but we do the absolute highlights. Of course, we stay right on the Zocalo, on the main square. That photo is actually taken from the balcony of our hotel. You can see the cathedral. You can see that big Mexican flag wave there. And then on the right is one of the optional tours that I offer you when you're here, is the trajineras. Is like the Mexican Venice. It's a very folkloric way to see Mexico. There's mariachis playing for you. You can have lunch on the boat. Well, of course, Mexico City has Frida Kahlo Museum. There's the Dolores Olmedo. If you want to see more beautiful art of Diego Rivera and his wife Frida Kahlo, everything is possible. From Mexico City, we go and visit Oaxaca. We pass a place called Puebla, which is unique. Again, all these cities that we visit are all unique to architecture, to food. Oaxaca is really famous for its food. Puebla also for its mole, you know, the chicken and chocolate sauce. Don't think it's Cadbury on top of chicken. It's really lovely with all different kinds of spices. You should try. We visit the local market in Oaxaca, which is an absolute highlight. It's actually one of the top 10 destinations in the world to visit. And Carrie was mentioning the Day of the Dead before. This is one of the places where the festival is taking big proportions, and you should really visit around that time, or any time really. There's always festivals and activities going there. We visit some ruins there, Monte Alban Zapotec ruins. And we will visit many different kinds of cultures. So the Zapotecs, Teotihuacanos, and in the following area where we go is Chiapas. And we visit that from the day 7. This is more the heartland of the Maya culture. We visit Palenque. Palenque is the Mayan ruin, and there you see on the top right, the Temple of Inscriptions, famous Maya pyramid. You see a picture of Agua Azul. That's also on the way to Palenque, and one of the places in the highlands we visit is San Cristobal Las Casas, and this is a very good way for you, a place for you to get to know how the Mayan traditions still live on today. And we visit 2 different villages, Zinacantan and San Juan de Chamula, and it's absolutely mind-blowing what you will see there. We visit the houses of the people, and they show us all their traditional weavings and how that rituals actually continue on, which are traditionally Mayan rituals. So very interesting, I have to say. We then move after Chiapas state, we move on to the Yucatan Peninsula, 2 more colonial cities. They're all unique. Campeche is a pirate city ringed with a 2.5-kilometer hexagonal wall to protect from the pirates. Fantastic stories there, beautiful sunset, lovely pastel color buildings, great photo opportunities. And then the city of Mérida, which used to be a very wealthy town, and you can still tell from all the palaces and beautiful mansions that are great, that you can all explore. It's our gateway to Uxmal in the Puc area, and Chichen Itza, which is right nearby there. And we stay right near the Chichen Itza ruins in a beautiful hacienda where you've got just access to the ruins in the morning if you want, and visit it before the crowds come. And if you'd like to do any extensions there, you can, because we finish on the Cancun area. So on that side, you could book an extra, for instance, stay a couple of days in Isla Holbox, Tulum, or maybe Playa del Carmen to have a holiday after your holiday. So I hope to welcome you one day here. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about my favorite countries, all of them.
That's brilliant, Jess. Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Just trying to shift on to the next slide, and it doesn't want to let me just.
Okay, well, Laura was asking me, would I have wanted to do any other types of tours? And she said, would you not like to go to Chile? I would love to go to Chile. It's great to work for JLA, because we do have the opportunities to work for different areas in different areas. So I've also done the ones in Colombia and in Ecuador as well. So yeah, and I hope in the future to be doing the Chile ones as well, especially after the photos of Carrie. I can't wait.
Yeah. I just figured out my technical problems in the background whilst you were talking, Jess. So thanks for helping me out there. But I just want to wrap up quickly, just a few more minutes, just to explain to you a final few things about group tours, and so you can decide if group tours are right for you. So one thing I would say is that some of the experiences you have on a group tour, they create such bonds and connections. I mean, I'm still friends with some people I met on first tours I did back in 2011. I know Jess is too. I know other people that, you know, they went on a tour to Peru together and they catch up still each year in a Peruvian restaurant to have a big catch up and a gossip. So you do make some wonderful connections. In terms of who comes on our group tours, we tend to have couples, families, not with young kids, but kids older than 12, friends, and of course solo travelers too. So we always have a nice mix on a group tour, and we tend to only have maybe 8 or 9 travelers. So the dynamic is really cozy. You all get to know each other. It's not too anonymous, and neither is it too intimate. It's just the right sort of balance. And in terms of ages of people that come on our tours, they tend to be 50s, 60s, 70s, but of course we get people on either side of that as well. And of course, just to mention again, our flexible approach. So for example, we don't have a set group flight. So if you live in, let's say, Newcastle or Manchester or somewhere like that, you don't have to fly down to London to catch your flight. You know, we'll fly you from whichever airport you choose. Of course, if you want to book your own flight, you can do that as well. As I've already mentioned, you can start a tour early or leave a little bit late. So, you know, do talk to your travel expert about all the options. And then, yeah, with a group tour, basically, we take care of all arrangements, but there's also plenty of free time for you to do your own thing as well. So you can sit back and just relax. And then finally, make it your own. So every group tour, you can add an extension to the beginning or to the end. So in Chile, for example, you might add on a trip to Easter Island, which is the, you know, in the middle at the top there, or to the Atacama Desert. If you do a trip to Mexico or Colombia, you might add on a beach extension. If you're in Patagonia, you might go down to the Antarctic, or you can add on an Amazon extension, whatever it might be. There's lots of options to really make it a holiday of a lifetime for you. And then finally, traveling with Latin America, of course, we're a long established company. It gives you a bit of peace of mind. You can book with full financial protection, lots of flexible booking policy. The travel expert you deal with, who deals with your initial inquiry, was going to be with you right until the end as well. We operate environmental, socially responsible holidays. Obviously, traveling in a group is more sustainable as well, because we're just using shared transport. Our partners are all, you know, selected on quality. They're people that we've been working with for many, many years. And as well as having your tour leader on the ground, you've also got the backup of a 24-hour emergency number. So if, you know, you were to miss your flight or something like that, there's someone you can call 24/7. So yes, so that's basically, that's it. I'm finishing now. And please do get in touch if you'd like to order the brochure. Like I said, you can pre-order it on our website, or just give us a call or send us an email. We'd love to chat.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carrie. But just before you leave, I do have another question for you. That was a brilliant presentation, by the way. Really, really enjoyed that. Really, really inspiring. I wondered if, you know, it's clear that the role of a tour leader is pivotal and that whilst we would always want something to run to, we would always want plans to go to plan. Oh, can you hear me okay?
It's a bit,
No,
it's a bit
absolutely,
fuzzy.
Laura. Just bear with me whilst I just try and plug you into a different socket. The technical issues continue, I'm afraid.
Maybe I won't ask you the question, Jess. I'll ask you the question.
Sorry, I missed that question because I was answering a question on the. I was just answering a question on the chat about the age range that we have on our tours.
I'm getting a bit of feedback. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, but it's a bit metal. Metal sounds.
My question was, it's clear that the role of the tour leader plays a pivotal role in leading a group.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst we would all love for our journey, our holiday to go perfectly well from A to B to C, in your 6 years of tour leading for Journey Latin America, surely there must be some funny anecdotes where things haven't quite gone to plan. Can you think of any now? Or perhaps Carrie, if you'd like to join?
Carrie, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, if Jess is on the spot, I seem to have sorted out my issue, so apologies, everyone. But yeah, I remember, for example, most of the things you can plan for, but when occasionally there's stuff that happens that you just can't plan for at all, and most of it is things like strikes. I remember being in Panama, in Bocas del Toro with a group, and then getting a phone call the evening before we were due to move on to Costa Rica from our kind of man on the ground there. And he was saying to me, Carrie, I think we're going to have problems tomorrow. There's going to be people striking. They're going to be blocking the border crossing into Costa Rica. We're not going to be able to do it. And I said to him, well, maybe we can just, maybe we stay on an extra day here and then just delay Costa Rica by a day. And he was like, no, I think they're going to be there for, a week or longer. I thought, we can't really offer people a 3-week trip to Central America and spend all of it in Panama. So I have to get them to Costa Rica somehow. And so we managed to find, a guy with a boat that was willing. This is a journey we would normally do by boat and land, but we managed to find a guy with a boat who was willing to take us into Costa Rica. And so we were kind of weaving past banana plantations, going down little inlets, passing mangroves, all that sort of thing. And eventually we got to Costa Rica and we had a sort of a man with a van waiting for us. But things like that are a little bit hairy, but we always managed to find a solution somehow. So yeah.
That's great. And I'm sure that's quite an asset, and your clients must have probably found that to be the highlight of their tour.
I was going to say they actually really enjoyed the adventure, and in the end they said to me, Carrie, why don't you do this on every single tour? And I was just thinking, no, but yeah, they really enjoyed the adventure, and often that ends up happening. Something that's a little bit unpredictable ends up becoming a highlight for them.
That's brilliant. Okay, so we're just going to go over to the Q&A now. I was just having a quick look through. I think we've answered many of them, but perhaps, Carrie, you haven't seen all of them. So I'm tried to go through them in some kind of order. We've had a question about the people that join our group tours. Are they, in terms of nationalities, what would you say the biggest proportion of nationalities are? I mean, obviously we're a UK company, so we have British travellers, but do we get other nationalities, and do you conduct the tours in English language, or might people expect to be given a tour in a different language?
No, so we, as you mentioned, we are a sort of UK-based company. So the vast majority of people on the tours would be from the UK. We also get a lot of people from other nationalities that perhaps live in the UK. So we might get some Australians, some New Zealand, other people from other European countries. But yeah, generally people come in from the UK. Lately, we have seen a few coming in from Asia or the States, but the majority is UK. And yeah, the language we do the tours in is always English. I forgot to mention as well, all the tour leaders are bilingual. They speak Spanish and or Portuguese, or in the case of people like Jess, multiple languages. So even though we're sort of liaising with the local guides and obviously the local suppliers in Spanish, the tours themselves are conducted in English, and of course the local guides are doing the tours in English as well.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks very much, Carrie. I actually had a question to ask about you were talking about discovery journeys or discovery tours, and that they are open more to soft adventure. and going on, let's say, an equivalent, which would be the lapwing, so visiting the Torres del Paine National Park, which is a beautiful area, great for walking. Is there the possibility for clients who join a Hummingbird tour to go walking as well, or would they only have to be able to join the Nandu, for example?
No, not at all. I mean, the lapwing tour you mentioned, isn't it? The one in Patagonia.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
yeah,
So the classic
yeah,
alternative to
sorry.
the
So no,
Nandu.
the classic tour is, I mean, it's very similar. Like I said before, you tend to do the same excursions, the same activities wherever you are. So on the lapwing tour, you'll spend again 3 days in the park. You're actually based inside the national park on that trip, and you'll do a visit to the Grey Glacier, for example, a boat trip to the glacier. You'll have like 2-day opportunities to hike as well. So for those that were really up for it, it's not an easy hike, but those of you that really wanted to do it, you could hike to Las Torres, for example, the viewpoint, or also do kind of a shorter hikes. There's always hikes to suit you. So as well, the other thing is we have often 2 guides in the national park as well, 2 guides plus the tour leader. So we're often able to split the group. So those that really want to do a longer hike can do a longer hike with one of the guides. Those that want to do a bit of a shorter hike, we can give them a couple of options, one with the tour leader, one with a local guide. So in short, we'll try and make it work for everyone. We'll make sure that everyone's catered for.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carrie. And Jamie, if I can just
Yes.
ask you, I know you answered on the Q&A, but just in case somebody hasn't seen that answer, we've had one question about South America being on the red, in fact, all of South America being on the red list. I think apart from the Falklands and South Georgia. But people are wondering when we think that might open up, and I know that that's the million-dollar question.
It is.
But
It is.
do we have any kind of insight? Is there any intel on the ground when we think there could be maybe a shift in, given case numbers in certain countries perhaps are doing better than others? Where might open up first?
It's very hard to give a prediction. We're hopeful that some countries will be okay by sort of the autumn, their spring. As you say, at the moment it's all red, but there are countries, Chile, Uruguay, which have got vaccination rates similar level to us. So the government will look into situations like that. But it's almost impossible to predict. Some good news though is back when the traffic light system was introduced, Portugal was a red country, and now it's green. So things can change quickly. So just because they're red now doesn't mean they will be in 3 months' time. And with vaccination rates, if they continue as they are, in not every country is doing as well, but other countries are doing very well. If they continue, then hopefully that will just it will open up sooner rather than later. But also Central America, except for Panama, is amber. So of course that can change to green. I don't think it's going to happen in the next few weeks, but hopefully in the next few months that will change to green as well.
Okay, so that's positive news to look forward to. It seems that we're on the upward curve, as it were. So, I'd just like to. We've reached the end of our presentation time, so I really want to extend a huge thank you, particularly to Carrie, who's given an amazing presentation, and to Jessica. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for stepping in during our technical issues.
I know, sorry.
No, these things happen. No, it's been brilliant. It's been really insightful, and I hope everyone at home has enjoyed tuning in as well. And thank you also to Jamie. So we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks for our Peru Virtual Travel Club, and we're soon reaching the end of our series. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. I'll be online for another couple of minutes in case you want to ask any more questions. But otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed the presentation today. Thank you so much.